story.
Okay. So the story of Confucian now started from a short story by um, Apple Cargo Heli, and he wrote this short film for the Berlinale Talent Campus. And so I saw it and I said, oh, can we actually make a feature out of that because I'm interested in multi-layered stories. And so that's how we took the script that he wrote after writing that. And so we developed it into Confucian now as it is today. We actually threw away all the stories that he created, and then we maintained the characters, and then of course the whole structure of the film. So that's actually the origin of the film Confucian now.
And the title. How do you come about the title?
Yeah, I mean, so the title, how it actually came about is that we love to do Afrocentric stuff. Like, I mean, because in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, that was when the whole art was really in vogue in Africa. I mean, Nigerian art was like really, really big. We're talking about people like Fela Kuti. And so what we did was that we wanted to pay some sort of like tribute to him, and we said, okay, I mean, and again to maintain the whole African authenticity in telling the story, we're like, okay, let us get an Afrocentric title, and that's how we went with Confucian Now.
I mean, when you say we, your partner is white, so how authentic can you get?
Okay, yeah, so I mean, yes, my partner is white. So my partner is white. Roland Rees is, yeah, I know, I mean, he's from Britain. And so we met in Berlin. But the thing is that when we met in Berlin, I mean, I saw this white guy that came to me and he said Sanu. And I was like wondering, like, okay, yeah, so I mean, in Germany, like among the sea of all these white faces, like a guy come up to me to say Sanu. And so I found out that he was actually in Zaria. His parents were expatriates in Zaria. And so he knows a lot about Africa. And of course, they were in the Congo too. During the time of Mobutu. So yes, I mean, he knows a little bit about, I mean, Africa. Actually, quite a lot, actually. So yeah, and that's how we actually connect. Because he's not looking at Africa from the expatriate worldview. He knows what Africa is, what we go through, and so he understands, I mean, what it is to be an African.
How long did this movie take to make?
The film, principal photography, took 14 days to shoot. But yeah, we took a lot of time in post-production because of course Tom is in the UK and I'm here, and of course we at a point the edit passed through the hands of Debbie, who is in the UK too, and so we bought this iMac because we were working with a really low budget that we had to, I mean, we had to like transfer from like Nigeria to the UK. So I mean that the post-production actually took some time, but yeah, principal photography was just 14 days to shoot.
What prepared you for this movie? What experience you have? What training do you have in terms of filmmaking? You're very young, so where did you get all this experience from?
Well, I mean, where I got like all this experience of like making a film, I think like when I was growing up, I read a lot of novels. I read a lot of books. I mean, I'm a huge fan of African literature. And of course, I have Nguyo Athiangu as my favorite writer. And so, I mean, all of that, all the stories that I grew up, because we had a lot of books in our houses, actually helped in shaping me as a storyteller. So yes, I would say the literature that I read, and of course some of the stories that I see around me in Africa, because we do have a lot of stories around in Nigeria, especially when you're coming from a multicultural city like Jos. So yes, I mean, my environment and what I've been able to read when I was a kid helped shape my storytelling ability.
And your training experience?
Well, yes, I mean, the training, what happened was that, yeah, I went to the National Film Institute, and of course, National Film Institute, because we're in a film school, you can actually try and fail. So that was what was happening. But then, so we were into storytelling. Then I remember going to Burkina Faso where we did a lot of master classes in how to tell a visual story. I mean, we had like a lot of people coming around. And so yes, and seeing other films that other African filmmakers have done, because Imagine in Burkina Faso have a lot of a big library with a lot of African films. So yes, I would say that actually helped in shaping my on-screen storytelling ability.
Then after film school, what have you done?
Yeah, I mean, so immediately after film school, the last thing that happened was that I was able to do a short film called Mom in Lagos, which I entered for the Berlinale Talent Campus. And so while I was in Berlin, someone told me, "Oh, I've seen your short film. Do you want to work with the BBC?" And I was like, "Yeah." I mean, all my life, I've always wanted to work with BBC, but radio. So now I'm in BBC's coming TV, and I'm going to be director. I'm like, "Yeah, that's super cool." So I came back to Nigeria, and then of course I was one of those directors that were on the BBC Working Day series, which actually set, I mean, a lot of standards in making television series or film with production values in Nigeria, and to a larger part, I mean, some parts of Africa. Of course, I'm not looking at maybe South or North Africa. So yes, that was what really happened. And then of course, we decided to form a production company, which we had Confusion Hour as our first film that we got funding from Hubert Ball's fund. And so I would say going to Berlin, being part of BBC, and now forming Cinema Kwata Kwata has largely been the hallmark of my career as a filmmaker.
The movie has, I mean, Confusion Hour has this multi-layered interlinked stories. Where did that come from?
Well, yeah. So there's this always because in school you don't really spend a lot of time. I mean, at least with the people that I was hanging out, we don't really spend a lot of time watching regular Hollywood films. We're trying to explore other cinema from other parts of the world, and so we stumble on films from South America. And of course, there are films like Amores Perros, and of course later on there was City of Gods. And so these films, especially Amores Perros, the whole way it's actually told its story in a multi-layered form caught my attention. And so I've been totally interested in that sort of filmmaking. So, and I was like, it wasn't really all about another country. We can actually do it because I mean, story is universal. We can just do it and people will just identify with it. So that was what happened. We're like, okay, let's just do a multi-layered story. And especially because of where I'm coming from just a multicultural society, right? Because in a multicultural society, there are lots of characters. So that was actually what happened. And I'm like, okay, I mean, we can actually take these different ethnicities that we have and try to fuse them up in a 24-hour story.
Where did you shoot the movie?
The Confusion Hour was shot in Kaduna. It was meant to be in Jos, but then there was a crisis in Jos. Yeah, we call it crisis. I mean, yeah, when people like take up arms, we call it crisis. And so we had to shift it to Kaduna to go and shoot. And when production shifted to Kaduna, of course, there was that still crisis again in Kaduna. I mean, after they've been enjoying years of relative peace for a very long time, but then production shifted there, and so the actors were brave enough to still come in the midst of that, and were able to shoot. Sometimes, I mean, there's curfew, but yeah, we kept on shooting like that.
What is it about Jaws and movies?
What is it about Jaws and movies? Yeah, I feel like, it's not about Jaws and movies, it's about basically Jaws and the arts. I mean, we're like the kings of like music, the kings of like literature, stage play, and then of course there's film. So yes, I think the whole serene nature of Jaws and the way it's cold, and then the easygoing life in it can actually make you to think critically, and you can actually you can actually bring out with compelling works of art.
Who thought of casting Alinu as Bello?
Oh yeah, casting Alinu as Bello. Yeah, it was casting Alinu as Bello was basically my own idea. Like, I really wanted to cast him because he's a fantastic actor and he has like a cult following, and I just felt, yeah, Alinu will nail it, head on.
It's an English language role, so I was thinking you wouldn't be my first choice.
Okay, yeah, I've worked with Alinu before, as in he was on Waiting Day, and Waiting Day was shot in English, and Alinu was there, and he was almost like one of the top characters in the film. So yes, I was